The rear end of the Lancia skidded sideways. Muddy gravel roared in the wheel wells and rattled off the undercarriage. Mike Fowler countersteered, then held the accelerator steady, letting the torque of the six-cylinder engine do its job. As the tachometer hit 5,000 RPM, he shifted into third gear. Ahead of him, the rugged peaks and ridgelines of the Pyrenees were obscured by low gray clouds. On one side, the slope fell away with not much more than a slushy berm between his tires and the treetops. On the other, rocks nearly clipped the side view mirror. Watery, wind-driven snow smeared under his wipers, blurring his view of the rutted road. It didn't matter. In this machine, under these conditions, nothing could touch him. The car was a 1955 Aurelia B20. Though a few years old, it remained a wonder of Italian engineering. It was owned by Fowler's business partner, Anton Voss, a man who had an unerring instinct when it came to anything mechanical. The fact that it was another man's car would not go over well if the Spanish police stopped him, and the situation was sure to go from bad to worse if they decided to search the trunk. But Mike Fowler had a considerably more serious problem than being pulled over by the Guardia Civil, and that was why he was tearing up a twisting mountain road, headed into a storm that was sure to close the passes into France before morning. Nearly 30 tons of gold bullion, 30 tons lost to history, its existence the stuff of myth or the colorfully illustrated cover of a men's adventure magazine. A legendary treasure hidden in one of the most inaccessible places on the planet. Men were willing to kill to discover its location, and now some of them believed that Anton Voss knew where it could be found. As the car roared past a stand of trees, Fowler saw what he was looking for. A long, straight grade, and at the top, a tight curve disappearing behind a shoulder of the hill. He took it as fast as he dared, while keeping an eye on the rearview mirror. There was no sign of pursuit. He hit the brakes as he rounded the curve. The car slewed across the road, coming to a stop with its nose buried in the brush. Cutting the engine, he climbed out, and moving to the back of the Lancia, opened the boot. Pulling away a greasy tarp, he removed a Sturmgewehr 44 assault rifle and a pair of pouches holding 6 curved magazines. Fowler dodged up the slope inside the elbow of the turn. Stopping at an outcrop of rain-slick rock, he took cover behind the dead branches that had fallen from a small oak. He spotted them a mile off. The driver of the black Mercedes was pushing it hard, fearing his quarry was escaping and desperate to catch up. Mike Fowler smiled grimly. He knew these mountains from long experience. He could outdrive his pursuers as long as he had petrol in his tank. But he couldn't allow them to know where he crossed the border. If they were as organized as he suspected, they could have a team waiting not long after he reached France. What the men in the Mercedes didn't realize was that he hadn't been running. Not since he'd left Barcelona. He had driven far and fast, but his plan had been to gain just enough distance to set a trap. Adjusting the sights on the STG-44, he raised the gun. When the black car was about 200 yards out, he fired once, twice. The first bullet went into the tank at the top of the radiator, the second lower down. The oil pan on the Mercedes was relatively well protected, and the 8mm Kurz cartridge would not penetrate like that of a full-power rifle, but he figured he'd try for it anyway. Steam burst through the grille and the gaps around the hood. The tires locked up and the Mercedes slid to a halt, the vague form of the driver craning forward, trying to see what had gone wrong. The 2 men in the car didn't realize they were under fire. Fowler squeezed the trigger again, putting a round through the windshield. Then he took out the left front tire and punched a pair of holes in the pontoon-like fender, searching for the distributor or fuel pump. The engine died. There was a muffled shout of alarm. The front door on the far side of the Mercedes popped open, and the men dove for cover below the edge of the road.